Welcome to this week's episode of The Better Half. I'm Kyndra Aubin, and this is Katy Hartley. And we're going to take a look back at what's been going on this week.
We'll start right here in Arizona. Our Cardinals getting their second win in 2 weeks in Philadelphia on the road, but more importantly, breaking an 11 road game skid. So very happy to see that. But now we seem to find ourselves in a bit of a quarterback controversy once again. John Skelton starting in Philadelphia, getting his second win of the season. Cobb, of course, still out with injury. So it brings us to the question, should Skelton be the starter or should Cobb be the starter?
Well, I still think that when Kevin Cobb is 100% healthy or healthy enough to play, he should be the starter. I think that Cardinals and the fans have to give him a little bit more of a chance. I think with no offseason, no OTAs, and him being new to this system, he needs more time. And I know fans, we're in a society that doesn't have patience when it comes to, sports and other things. But I think Skelton, I don't think it's coincidence that he has 2 wins. He does have a familiarity with these receivers and with this offense, and he does have a great pocket presence, but I still think Cobb should be the starter when he comes back.
And the Cardinals fans are sort of the what have you done for me lately, and Skelton is 2-0 as a starter this year. Cobb is 1-6, so I see where the argument comes. Leave Skelton in there until he loses or completely collapses. I'm for him starting.
Well, and if you look at his other numbers, it's not like he's been great, but the fact that he has 2 wins, I mean, that obviously plays a huge part in it. But I thought it was interesting. Some of the receivers said when Skelton was named the starter after Cobb was hurt, they were like, hey, we got to be on our toes now because we never know who's getting the ball. And, they make some comments that I'm just wondering, why is it that they don't feel that way with Cobb and they do feel that way with Skelton? But we'll see. I don't think Cobb's going to play this week. I still think he's going to be out. He just passed to a moving wide receiver today for the first time in 3 weeks. So yeah. I don't think he's going to play.
Not looking good for Cobb this weekend, but we will see how good it looks for ASU U of A this weekend, the biggest rivalry game in college in Arizona. ASU hosting U of A this weekend. We're going to take kind of a different angle rather than talk about the rivalry today. A lot of people talking about Coach Dennis Erickson of ASU and whether he should get a contract extension or get fired.
Mm-hmm. In the middle of the season.
Right.
I mean, not at the end of the season. I mean, do you think he should even last to the end of the season? If let's say they lose this game or the next 2 games or don't make it into the Pac-12 championship, the South, from the South, what do you think? Should he even last the end of the season?
I think it's okay to leave him in for the rest of the season. I sort of feel like his time at ASU is pretty much over. He's 31-28 overall as a head coach at ASU. What I would like to see is him he lacks in the road game, winning on the road. He's 8-17 overall on the road at ASU, and those numbers are just not impressive enough for me. Maybe if he comes out and ASU makes it to the Pac-12 game and he wins that on the road at Oregon, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, I don't think there's any chance that he wins that championship game, whether it is at home or on the road. I just don't think it's going to happen. But I think if he makes it there, it gives him a case for maybe at least another year. I don't think he deserves a long-term contract or a big contract extension. And I just think that it just is going to depend. Are people here happy with mediocrity, or do they want something better? And I think that's going to have to come from the fans and the people in the Valley and see what they decide. But right now, they seem to be content with continuing with the mediocrity. It's just not. It's not good enough to become a top-level program, but they shouldn't be happy either. I mean, they haven't made a bowl game since 2007.
Right.
And there are 35 bowl games. So there's something to be said for that. And I don't like the way that he doesn't really control his players. I don't think he has a handle on them. The discipline issues have been a problem for a while. So me personally, not a huge Dennis Erickson fan.
Well, I'll be cheering on my Wildcats this weekend. More developments in the Penn State scandal. The Jerry Sandusky was interviewed on NBC by Bob Costas this week. He had some, I found, disturbing comments about the scandal, so let's take a listen.
Could say that, I have done some of those things. I have horsed around with kids. I have showered after workouts. I have hugged them, and I have touched their leg.
Wow, some disturbing things I find to be quite disturbing from Jerry Sandusky. And you and I were talking earlier, should he have been allowed to do this interview, or did he do more harm with this interview? What do you think?
Well, I think it was a terrible PR move, and the only thing I can think is maybe the lawyers trying to, let everyone know the whole situation, and so that way there is no jury that could be fairly, assembled to judge him. I can't think of any other reason, but I think it's awful. I think Sandusky just proved even more to us why he's a total tool and a sick, SOB.
Yeah, all I can think about is the victims in this case, and I just pray for them and healing for them and good therapy for them, because this is going to be a long road to recovery for them. So let's move on to the NBA, the players disbanding the union this week. I found quite an interesting stat that the average player, the players were supposed to get their first paychecks this week, and the average player lost $220,000 per game. That is just an astounding number to me. Is that ridiculous?
Well, it is ridiculous, but I don't think it's anything new that the athletes are overpaid. I don't think that's a huge surprise, and I think that's why people in this economy and in this time have a really hard time feeling for whether it was the NFL or now the NBA, and I think they need to get it together, and I don't know that anybody's going to miss them. I kind of threw it out there on Twitter, and people don't seem to be missing the NBA.
I crunched the numbers very quickly, and with my paychecks, it would actually take me 10 years to get to $220,000. So,
is that before or after taxes?
It's after taxes. I think you guys will be all right, though. We're out of time this week on The Better Half. She's Kyndra D. St. Aubin. You can follow her on Twitter at Kyndra620. You can follow me at FunKaty620. We'll see you next week for another webisode of The Better Half.